title of this module is Storytelling as Pedagogy, because we really want to position storytelling as an important method of communicating a concept to students in the classroom and use it as a valid way of communicating something, because generally storytelling tends to be seen as something that is just good to pass your time and something that is just entertaining and no real academic value. But through this module, we want to really bust that myth and talk about how storytelling can be used very, very effectively to teach not just to younger children in primary and kindergarten grades, but all the way up to grade 12. So this module has been designed by Rituparna Ghosh and myself. Ritu, you will be meeting tomorrow. For those of you who have signed up for the Hindi webinar, this is what she looks like. And Ritu is based in Delhi and is also the founder of an organization called Your Story Bag, through which she does a lot of storytelling workshops and consultancies and so on. I am, of course, Deepta. I am a resident storyteller at the school in Chandigarh, which is Saint Kabir Public School. And really, my thanks to them also for investing in storytelling as a serious tool to be taken in the classroom. So, getting straight into what this module is all about. The first module, there are 5 parts to this module. So the first one is called What is Storytelling? Now, when you log in, you will find, the course that is, numbered 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on. So this is the first lesson in the unit. Now, so the first lesson is called What is Storytelling? Now, here we have tried to give some definitions of storytelling. Not that storytelling can really be bound by a certain set, definition. But there are certain aspects to storytelling that are unique and that need to be kept in mind when delivering a story. So we've tried to take various definitions and piece them together in this module, just to give you a sense of why storytelling needs to be taken up seriously and what is, what are some of the things that you need to keep in mind when you're telling a story for it to be effective. Because when you're telling a story, you can tell it in the most simple way, in the most boring way, and it is still a story. But you can tell the same story, adding a little bit of drama, a little bit of voice, a little bit of, actions and gestures and so on. And suddenly the whole experience changes. So this is how storytelling is a separate art form, if you may. And here, that's what we are trying to explain to you through the module, that what is storytelling, what are some of its features, what are some of the things that you need to keep in mind when you are taking a story to the classroom. And that will also help you identify the difference between a story that is told and a story that is told well. So that's the objective of this lesson. Moving on to 1.2, which is the second lesson in this unit. It's called History of Storytelling and its place in the classroom. So in this particular lesson, we try to tackle some questions on how storytelling came about, how did it come about to be used as a teaching tool, what happened to storytelling along the way, because really storytelling is one of the oldest ways of communicating an idea. It's not something that has just come into people's lives now, right? So since since humans have evolved, they have been telling stories. They have been telling stories using pictorial forms, and they have been telling stories orally till the written word was developed. But somehow, some things happened in between, and storytelling began to take a back seat. So here in this particular lesson, this is what we are trying to understand. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand why stories are significant in the teaching learning process. Why is it that we should consciously bring in stories into the classroom? what are the 3 E's of storytelling? I'm not going to reveal that right now so that you will log into the course and check it out for yourself. And also think about when and where you can use stories in the classroom. So this is mainly the focus of this lesson. So coming back to our question about what happened to storytelling. Well, we all know that, the Panchatantra was in fact the oldest example of story-based teaching that we can think of, which was, of course, developed in India. So when that was so popular in that time in ancient India, what happened later on? So as education began to become industrialized and it was seen as just as a means to a certain end, the need for the means for education was just help people get jobs and do a specialized task, which did not require too much thinking, which did not require too much critical analysis or creativity. So education was just seen as something that was used to fulfill that need. So rote learning began to take place, and students were just expected to mug up whatever was in the textbook and regurgitate it in the exam, and therefore teaching was also just really to develop any particular skills. And storytelling, like I mentioned earlier, is seen as something that is only fit for primary grades and for kindergartners. It's seen as a waste of time for higher grades, because generally teachers tend to think, if I keep telling stories, how will I complete my syllabus? Well, thanks to the NEP now, all of this is going to change. The NEP is saying very clearly that you don't have to focus on all of these things. You have to look at how to make education more joyful, more fun, how to make it more integrated with other subjects, and how to bring in a sense of real learning into the classroom by using various pedagogies, and storytelling being one of them. So you can do all of this and still complete your syllabus on time without stressing about it too much, because as we know, exams are also going to be a low stakes affair. We've already seen that happening with the 10th and 12th board exams getting cancelled. So this is the time really for us to look at pedagogies like storytelling and see really how we can develop our own skills and add it to our teaching repertoire. Because we also know from neuroscience that there is a lot of merit in using storytelling in the classroom, because scientists have observed that the brain does respond very, very positively when something is communicated in the form of a story. So it's not just a thing to say that, use stories, they're very effective, but there is also the backing of science now that tells us why it is important to use stories when you communicate something. The next lesson here is 1.3, which is elements of a story. Now we've seen what is storytelling, we've seen why we should use stories. Now in this lesson we talk about what constitutes a story. What are some of the building blocks of a story? Because a story is a story only when it has certain aspects to it. So this lesson helps us explore that. And once you are able to identify the elements of a story, you will be able to create your own story. And that is also the assessment that you will that is due at the end of this course, which I'll come to a little later. So this is an important lesson for you to focus on. So the elements of the story will help you create stories where you can't find ready-made stories for a particular topic. And the other thing that is important here is also to identify factors that make a story problematic. Now, what kinds of stories do we bring into the classroom? Are all stories okay to take in? Or should I think of, or should I keep in mind certain elements that make a story problematic or not problematic? So we take a look at that also in this particular lesson. So coming back to the elements of a story, we know that every story needs to have a narrative arc. which means the story is divided into three parts called the beginning, the middle, and the end. So identifying the aspects of the beginning, the middle, and the end. As you can see in the picture, there is a setting in the beginning, there are characters, then there is an action which sort of triggers off a whole set of events in the story. Then there is a rising action, a conflict or the problem, which is the most important aspect to a story. Then the falling action and how the conflict actually gets resolved. So once we keep in mind these elements, and you will read about these in the lesson in much more detail, in great detail, using examples and exercises and so on, this will help you create your own stories and keep them as, in your story bank, as it were. Now, a story bank is also something that you will encounter in this module, where you can keep, adding more and more stories in your bank account, as it were, and you can keep making withdrawals and deposits as you go along. So this lesson focuses on understanding the structure of a story. Now, we all know that we need to use stories because they activate higher order thinking skills, and the NEP makes it very, very clear that these are the kind of we should be educating in our students, not just knowledge level questions or comprehension level, but take them as much as possible to the higher order thinking as much as we can. So storytelling helps us get our students there. So it's not just about, so you've told a story. Now, when you start asking questions about the story, this is where the higher order thinking skills start coming into play. You will obviously not just ask questions about who said what to whom, or where did this particular event take place, or what is the name of the character, but you slowly start pushing students to analyzing the story, right? What would you do if you were in this position? How would you resolve this problem? Can you think of any other methods that the hero of the story could have used to resolve the conflict, and so on and so forth? So what this does is that this automatically activates both critical and creative thinking in the minds of your learners. And when you start peeling the layers of the story, it becomes more and more apparent that a story is not just what you have heard, but there is so much more to it. And unraveling it little by little can actually take you to new levels of creation and synthesis, which is what higher order thinking skills is all about. The next question, which was about what makes a story problematic, is issues like, does the story have any stereotypes that it is perpetrating? Are there any, is the story very gendered in its language? What kind of emotions does the story evoke? What kind of genres of stories must I be taking into the classroom, and how can they be used effectively? So these are all the kind of questions that this lesson makes you think about. So you don't just read the first story that you come across and decide to take it to your classroom. It has to pass the story stress test, as it were. And this is again a term that is in the lesson. You will come across that. There's a checklist for you to go through. So if your story passes all of those aspects, and if you can answer all those questions satisfactorily, then is when you take that story into the classroom. So you will go through great detail here as well. So that brings us to the end of Unit 1. Now, Unit 2 starts off with talking about the genres of stories. What are the different kinds of stories that are available to us? There are folk tales, there are fables, there are myths, there are legends, there are urban legends, there are fairy tales, there are real life stories. I mean, it's just endless. So what are the kinds of these stories that you can tap into? Of course, you can be creating your own original stories as well. And where do you source these stories from? Do you source them from the internet? Do you source them from books? Do you source them from, from listening to it from other people through the oral tradition? So this particular lesson goes into great detail about the genres of stories and where to find them. So, like I said, where do you select the right genre of stories for your students? When looking for a story to teach a concept, where do you look? And how do you document and catalog the stories that you found? You may have found a great story, so it's always good practice to quickly write it down in some sort of a journal or a book, so that it makes referencing that story much easier for you as you go along. And that's really how you build your library of stories. That's how you build your repertoire of stories. So how do you do that? Is what this lesson focuses on. How to choose stories, of course, like this again takes us back to the discussion we just had some time ago. What are some of the elements that you need to keep in mind before you choose the right kind of story to take to your classroom? Things like age appropriateness, language in the story, how closely aligned is the story to the concept that you wish to teach? Is it too abstract or is it too simple? So these are all some of the decisions that you as an educator will need to make when you're choosing these stories. So what is the method and the process that you need to follow? That's what this lesson talks. And first point is story sources. We go in great detail of where to find the stories. We give you all tap into that are both digital and non-digital resources that that are available for you to use free of cost, in many cases. So this will become a nice reckoner for you to keep once you start using stories with your students. So like I said, sources of stories, children's books, using the internet, cataloging the stories, and also importantly, what are the ethics of using stories from diverse sources? Because you can't just take a story and use it as if it were your own. One needs to credit the source. One needs to, if the story has come to you from another storyteller or from another person that you may have met somewhere, then it's important. Storytelling ethics demands that you credit the source of the story that has come to you, right? So, and today there are just so many sources wide open available to us. So it becomes all the more important for us to to give back. This is a way of giving back, really, to the person or to the source of the story, so that it's just out there for everybody to go and take a look at. So ethics of using stories from diverse sources is an important aspect as well in the lesson. So that is Unit 2. Moving on to Unit 3, we move from a little bit of theory so far into the actual practice of telling stories. So the first lesson is about how to tell a story in an engaging manner. Like I said earlier, you can tell a story and you can tell a story well. What's the difference? So in this lesson, we go into details of what it takes to tell a story in an engaging and an effective manner. So the first thing, of course, that one needs to do is to listen to as many stories and storytellers as possible. So there are videos that have been put in here for you to watch and learn from. I also forgot to mention that almost every lesson has a video. So you will have reading material and the video to go along with it. So that way it gives you a nice balance. There is also a toolkit that we have put in. Toolkit is a bit of a problematic word these days, but we will just stick to the actual dictionary definition of the word. So here we put together a toolkit for storytelling teachers. Please pardon the spelling on this slide. But the toolkit is really something that will be very, very useful for you to refer to once you start telling stories more regularly in your classroom. So it has everything that you need to start off your journey as a story educator. And of course, how do you use your voice, your body, expressions and gestures, even if you are telling a story in the digital mode. So before this webinar started, we were talking a little bit about how it is so difficult for storytellers to not see their audience in front of them live. So for the last 2 years, all we've been doing is to tell stories behind, sitting behind a screen. But even in that medium, you can still make your storytelling joyful. You can make it entertaining by employing your voice and your gestures and your expressions in an appropriate manner. So here we go into details of that as well. So this is your storyteller's toolkit, which is an essential item for every storytelling teacher. 3.2, or the second lesson in this unit, is aids and props for storytelling. What are the various kinds of aids that are available? Now, generally, there is a perception that storytelling has to have a visual aid or a puppet or something that, you know, that can attract the attention of the listener. But again, this is just a perception. There is no right or wrong answer here. But this lesson goes into great detail about what are the kind of aids and props that are available for you to use. When do you use it? At what point do you decide that a prop is going to add a lot more value to the story than just telling it orally? If you ask me, my first prop at all, I'm not going to down the road, but what I'm saying is that there are a whole range of aids and props that are available, but you have to make that decision and that choice very, very carefully. And this lesson will give you some pointers as to when you can use aids and props to make your storytelling more engaging. So that brings us to the end of Unit 3. Unit 4 is, again, 3 parts: stories for integrated learning, story-based lesson planning, and storytelling as assessment. Now, these are very, very critical for us to understand, especially from the point of view of what the NEP talks about as competency-based learning. Now, when we talk about competency-based learning, we are essentially looking at ways in which we can develop a whole range of skills in our learners. And so storytelling becomes a very useful pedagogy to have to meet this goal. So how can a story be used for integrated learning? I will also be demonstrating this to you a little later on in this meeting using a story. How do you plan a story? How do you plan a lesson, a whole lesson around the story? So we kind of keep the textbook away for some time and we bring in a story into the classroom and we try and deliver the lesson using that story. So, and then we go back to the textbook to see how the story and the lesson sort of map to each other. And the third lesson here is storytelling as assessment, which means there are 2 parts to this. So stories can be a process of communicating a lesson or an idea to your learners, and storytelling can also be a product of that learning. So if you recall, some time ago, CBSE had announced a storytelling competition where they had listed a whole range of topics starting from grade 3 to grade 12, across subjects, of course. And there was a topic that was assigned for each chapter in the textbook. And students were asked to create stories around those topics. So here is where storytelling becomes a tool to assess students' comprehension. And when students are being asked to create a story around a concept, they are using a whole range of skills. It's not simple to create a story, you know. So using a story as an assessment tool is a great way to actually check how well a student has grasped the concept, where are the gaps, how much more learning is required, and so on and so forth. So we do this using rubrics, which again the lesson talks about. How do you create those rubrics? What kind of rubrics to create for oral storytelling? What kind of rubrics to create for story writing? Because they are slightly different. So we talk about that as well. So yes, so in this lesson, we will be able to understand how stories connect subjects, how to develop a multidisciplinary approach to teaching, because that is really the need of the hour. Because subjects, as we know, do not exist in isolation in the world out there. We don't see the world as maths and biology and physics and history. In fact, it's a combination of everything that makes the world what it is and the issues that concern the world. So that needs to be brought into the teaching, into the classroom very consciously. So a lesson in the English textbook is not just an English lesson. It gives rise to so many other issues that the world may be facing today. So how, as an educator, can you bring that out into the classroom? So this lesson will help you do that, of course, through stories, and also make a list of stories that you can use in your lessons going forward. So like I said, storytelling as assessment will help you assess how students have comprehended the story. How do you create a story-based assessment and the rubrics for the same? And make a list of topics that can be assessed using stories. So at the end of every lesson, there's a little task that you will have to complete. So you will obviously be able to put all your learning into practice. Because, like I said earlier, when it comes to competency-based education, we need to have and measurable, where the core content becomes minimum, so that we can have multiple pedagogies that encourage learning across diverse and differentiated ways, and assessments can also be created using differentiated methods, because we know that a one-size-fits-all standardized testing does not really work in the long run. We have seen how that that has failed in all these years. So storytelling helps us create those differentiated assessments that gives equal opportunity for students to express their learning and their comprehension. Now, the last module is how to craft a story. Here we have two parts. 5.1 will give you all the details about how to craft a story, to how can you create original stories on any concept, which also has a lot to do with the earlier lesson that you saw, which is about storytelling, the bricks of storytelling. So if you paid attention to that lesson, then 5.1 will be very simple for you to create stories around various topics. And once you do that, you create a lesson plan. Now, this is also your assessment. 5.2 is actually your assessment, where you can pick any story, a story that you have created or a story that you have identified and modified according to your learning needs. And then you write a lesson plan around that story. I will also give you a little bit of a demonstration of that right now in some time. So once you submit this assessment, the certificate is yours to take home, and you therefore have successfully completed this 5-hour module on storytelling as pedagogy. We hope that you will have all the tools that are required for you to start this as a conscious pedagogical process in your classroom. Now, along with the assessment, you also have, there are MCQs. Each module comes with its own set of MCQs. There are about, I think, around about 40 MCQs in all across the various lessons that have been put together. So these are very simple MCQs, of course, very, very simple and straightforward questions to assess your understanding. And along with this, once you submit your assessment, the storytelling as pedagogy course is complete. So that's what this module is all about. You can email us at storypedagogy@gmail.com if you have any queries during the course of the course that you're taking. If you're stuck at any point, you can certainly get back to us, and we will try and answer your questions to the best of our ability. You can also reach out to the CBSE, I'm sure, and they will also direct your queries to us. So that is really what the module is all about.